I wrote a book. It burned out of me. And it's inspired by our healing experience with the Iboga medicine. So before I get rolling, sharing a few things, I'll invite you to join me in a moment of thanks for these sacraments. Just a breath, silence, offering the unimaginable, miraculous healing that these plant bodhisattvas have gifted us. Such a blessing, opulent blessing. So thank you. Thank you to the medicines. Thank you to the traditional healers and teachers. Thank you for the people who are stepping up to create a cultural context for these medicines. Thank you to my great muse and love of my life, Mr. Chor Boogie, aka Joaquin Lamar Haley, aka Love Man. Want to say hi?
Hello.
All right. So about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, my dear love of 6 years confessed to me that he had had a heroin relapse. 6 years in, and when I met him, he was sober. So there was a pretty massive shift over all those years. And that night, I was so shocked. You know, that first night, I was like getting hit by a car and spent time in nature. And as the process is described in this very intimate confessional book, it was as if the idea of Iboga just dropped down into my crown from the sky. And I couldn't remember in that moment. Couldn't remember how I knew about it. I couldn't remember where it came from. It was like something was remembering me. So there was a lot of prayer involved, and just so you know, since coming out with the book, I've received a lot of inquiries from people like, my brother is struggling, my sister, my lover, what do I do? How did you know what to do? And how I navigated was in not knowing. It was through every day being connected to spirit and everyday prayer. I'm convinced there's no manual, there is no recipe, there's no protocol. And every day it came down, there were moments I'm like, no more, that's it, fuck this bullshit. Yeah, literally. And then listening. I mean, it was almost, it was like, not audible, but there were very clear words that were shared in moments of duress. And then there were moments of checking myself that, okay, I have to take care of me now. So there were a couple months that were a really dark roller coaster, because when someone has a relapse, they go back to where they left off. So that was a really bad place. Yeah, it was really intense. So what I tell people is you can't figure it out. And we cannot save anybody. We can give people opportunities to save themselves. And we can be present. So Iboga is not a magic pill. So not. It's an opportunity. There's tremendous healing, neurological healing, baptizing of the brain receptor sites, resetting of the neurotransmitters, powerful healing. But like so many of these medicines, it requires preparation, participation, and integration. And it will only work, like our shaman says, Mugenda, who we worked with, it has almost 100% success rate, he found in his 1800 treatments that he did in Costa Rica, when people are there of their own volition. When they're not pressured by family. You know, when they want to live, even when they want to consider, you know, in the addict state, you know, someone who's really heavily polluted, they can't even imagine what it's like to live a wonderful life without their fix. But if they're willing to even consider that maybe it's possible to live a wonderful life, I'm gonna crack open that possibility. That's the mustard seed, right? So I really want to share that with everyone, that it's not like I'm some, you know, this man saved himself, and I'm really grateful that I was there. And when I started to research Iboga pretty intensively, and that too is intuitively guided, even though there was a lot of intellectual learning, it was very intuitively guided to the practitioner. So there was a lot of heart in that part of it. We were looking at the medical model, and also a more shamanic approach. And I feel, after a lot of learning, that there's a place for both. And what's really interesting is, you know, just coming back from the Global Iboga Therapy Conferences, there's a lot of cross-pollination happening. And there's issues of sustainability in Gabon, where the indigenous people don't have the medicine to treat 160 million addicts in the world. But there needs to be some alternatives, some very interesting alternatives that are being developed. But in that moment, I was intuitively guided to this traditional shamanic approach with someone who'd had a lot of experience working with detox and addicts, and it turned out to be very fruitful, because I know it was the right thing for us. So when I was looking around for him initially, the medicine started to call to me. I learned that it was very powerful for PTSD. And just remarkable for brain health and being an uplifting force. So I decided to do it, but I decided to do it for me. So not to just jump along the ride for him. It was very clear it was for me too, and we were going to get there together. So this, when I say, you know, listening to spirit, there's listening to the medicine too. Like, I feel like the medicine started to work on us from the moment we decided 110% to take it. It started, and medicine gets messy. Starts to unravel and disentangle and detoxify, and you better get your shit together before you go do it, you know, in every sense of the word. Like, you clean your whole life out before, you know, hopefully. Even as chaotic as that was, but things started to shift immediately. I could feel that medicine already beginning its pre-op on us. And I sense the medicine is an ambassador of the benevolent force of creation itself. That it is one, it is a physical manifestation of Prakriti, of nature, from spirit. I felt that very intimately. So I was in conversation with spirit, in conversation with the medicine daily. And there's a time I feel like just on a personal note, after all these inquiries have come to me, there's a time to walk away. If someone does not want to live, if someone is not done destroying themselves, there's a time to take care of yourself and leave. So again, spirit. So I asked, when we were there in Costa Rica, I asked one of the apprentices, Michael, I said, because we had a very positive, although, intense healing journey. There were moments I didn't know if he'd make it there alive for me. He's like, oh. For me, I had moments I was very worried. I really didn't know. And there were moments that I didn't know if we were going to make it through it. We ultimately had a beautiful healing, and I asked Michael, I said, does the medicine always clean people up like this, like couples? Does it always fairy tale, makes everything good? And he's like, no. But this is part of the healing. He said there have been couples who came together as addicts, or maybe one was an enabler, that it separated people in a very beautiful way. And that was the healing. And what Iboga does when we are ready to really interact with that medicine and participate is it shows us the truth of our soul that is completely irrefutable, like this. So that's terrifying, right? To some people, oh, I don't want to let go of that relationship, I don't want to let go of my addiction, but I want you. It brings it so intimately clear. And like Muginda says, and a lot of you've heard this saying, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. Oh, does it set you free though? I didn't realize how many of my decisions were fear-based. Even subtly, I practiced yoga for 20 years. It's a little bit of this spiritual ego there, and I realized, through that medicine really blessed me with looking at certain things that were from a place of contraction. And so when we really look at that truth, that terrifying truth, it sets us free like huge, graceful wings as far as we want to go, and doors opening that we never knew were there, to dream, manifest dreams that we didn't dare to dream. I'm talking about free. Beautiful, magical, free. So, yeah, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. So free. You can, when we're willing to, jump off that precipice. The medicine, and a part of that truth is releasing attachments. And this is a lot that the Bhuiti talk about over and over again, is to release attachments. We can't even be attached to the medicine. That's what Muginda says. It comes into our lives, it's a blessing. It is not a crutch, it is a blessing. It comes when it wants to come. It wants to take us, we don't just want to take it, And it's important for us in the West to be so conscious of our consumption. The West loves to consume. So it's a gift, it's a blessing, and it has the power to really do a lot of work if we give it space to do its work. So attachment is so different. It's so different from love. Attachment is like the painful gripping, like when our heart feels like it's gripping, or when our mind feels like it's gripping. That's attachments. and it wants to stroke itself, and it's very painful. But the medicine really, really helped me to understand what love is in deeper layers, deeper layers that I hadn't known before. So ultimately, the medicine didn't just heal his addiction. I thought I was going to clean up my PTSD and fix him. Get him fixed. But it turns out it purified our relationship beyond what we ever imagined. There was a lot of things that we were hiding from each other that I didn't even think, I didn't want to acknowledge that they were important until they were kind of blowing up in my face. Again, that truth hurts, it sets you free, and it unraveled a lot, and it turned out that his addiction, I felt like, was intimately related to some of our toxic issues. A lot of subconscious, shadowy, under the surface stuff. And the book is definitely not a celebration of our perfection at all. Give me a cue and we're like maybe time for Q&A, okay? It's a celebration of our growth, and our process, which is always continuing. It got really, really messy, and I wrote the book, after our experience. It burned out of me so fast. I felt like my ego couldn't keep up with it because I was writing so fast. Editing is a different thing. I edited the hell out of it, but I was writing so fast that it was coming from. It was faster than the inner critic. It was faster than the ego, and it's raw. So there's a lot in there that's pretty brutal, but that is somehow part of its charm. I think we all have something in our lives that we think is so bizarre, and that maybe we can't talk about. So hopefully it gives everyone permission to talk about what's there. Definitely gets into a lot about sacred sexuality and how the Bwiti and our experience with Iboga also lit up other beautiful teachings that we've had and purified other things. So, and speaking of honesty, I feel like even the tiniest little lie in an intimate relationship that you really care about, that really matters to you, tiniest little lie is going to breed a mold. And my experience with the medicine was that it loves honesty. From a million different perspectives of this earth, that we can all have tolerance for our different perspectives, but that it cleansed that mold for us. And I love honesty. It's so beautiful. So preparation and participation and integration. Preparation, we were in touch with our shaman beforehand who encouraged us to write out our questions for the medicine. That's how the Bwiti have shamanically experienced this medicine since before recorded history. That's what it was for, to ask your own soul, your own higher self, anything. And your own soul is connected, it knows everything that you need. There are these points where we dishonor our soul and our soul kind of takes a departure. It's hard to explain until one goes through something like this, but our soul, even our soul is a gift. And when we are dishonest with ourselves, that intimate communication with the soul can get muted further away. So we wrote out all these questions, like what do you ask if you have a tea date with God? So we wrote out all of these questions, and it was remarkable to be laying next to each other. I had some pretty amazing psychic experiences in that journey. For a lot of people, it can be good to go through such a healing away from your lover. And sometimes it can be good to go side by side. That's between you, and you know if that's right for you. So we asked our questions. We cleaned our house before we went. We got our bills taken care of, like just the worldly things of preparation. What kind of home did we want to come back to? You know, these kinds of things. And then participation. So not a magic pill at all. This is like climbing Mount Everest inside of yourself. And it is the OG Jedi training. At Iboga, you know, Star Wars is going, Darth Vader's in there every day, every moment. And Iboga, like some medicines, shine so much light, like this brilliant cosmic spotlight on the many, many, many layers from conscious to unconscious and semi-conscious, you know, brought everything to light. My first journey was very difficult, and I almost didn't want to do it again. But there was a calling, like, okay, I'm going to receive everything this has to offer, and I was grateful because the first journey was just a cleansing. It was just preparing me for the deeper journey into the spirit world. So full-on participation, sitting at the fire ceremony, honoring the Bwiti traditions, listening to the music. You know, it's a fierce music. It is, some people call it the chiseler. But it is so important, these elements, what we learned at the Gita conference, at the Global Iboga Therapy Conference, which is an amazing organization, by the way, if you have a chance to support the Global Iboga Therapy Alliance. Amazing work there, bridging indigenous wisdom and science and doctors and everything. So the music, what we learned from this European scientist, Umen Mas, was that the music is actually bringing the brain into the theta state, is actually helping to regulate the heartbeat, because Iboga is a fierce medicine. It's very intense. It can be a high impact on the heart. It's regulating the heartbeat. So that's so amazing. You know, it's very important. Just a little side note here. Personally, please don't ever do this medicine alone. Please don't ever mail order it, because it may not have come from a sustainable or ethical source at all. It could be contaminated even. You want to know, you want to be connected to a community who's making that medicine and be supporting them in the right way and know where your medicine is coming from. You know, we had medicine that was grown with ceremony. They pray to the earth before they plant it. You know, they pray when they're collecting it. They collect it sustainably. They pray before they send it. Like that's a whole different frequency. That medicine is very sensitive to how it's being handled. So I'm so grateful that in that participation we had good medicine, we had good guidance. So the participation, full on, every moment, presence, and integration. So my 400 pages of integration. and his artwork was integration. So for us, we had a tremendously successful experience in that it enriched our lives. Yay, I love my life. You know, that was music to my ears coming out of this experience when my lover said, I love my life. I love my life. And I'm so proud of you. Integration. So there are many ways we can integrate. We can write, we can make art, we can make music, we can talk to other people like Ashley and the Aware Project, and not just write stuff on Facebook, which is awesome, but actually participate and show up and support and give our time to the Zendo Project and donate to MAPS and donate to Gita. Like, get in there and participate. Community is so important. Oh, there's so many ways. And having 12-step programs are still really helpful. for a lot of people, even after the medicine or other kinds of support groups. Community. Phoenix Multisport is an alternative to the 12-step program that's all about collective sober, identifying with being sober, and having outdoor activities. Like, there's all these beautiful ways that we have community. How are we keeping our home? Our home is a map of our consciousness, you know, keeping an altar, feeding ourselves really good food. Like, these are all great ways that we can integrate. And I love to share some of my sweetheart's art. So this piece here, you know, he had a profound healing around his relationship to the feminine. And this is a piece that was that was worked on post Iboga. It was a pre-existing piece that he translated elements of his visions of the feminine. This is the first piece he painted after Iboga. This is the love dance. Fresh from our first 8-day retreat. So much medicine in there. And this man, Mr. Chor Boogie, creates murals all over the world. He does canvases. We do art installations and, you know, performance art collaborations together. He was already an amazing, successful artist, and then I saw his art change over time, like from the beginning, and get a little disjointed and a little darker, and then after the medicine, these transmissions started coming through. Like, this was, that's the spirit of Iboga, and the motion, and the, you know, multi-dimensional nature of travel. But then he also paints these incredible political pieces that are really intense, but that's love too. It's truth. So I'm going to share some more of his art. That was, I think, the second one you painted? Huh? Was this the second or third one you painted?
That's the second one.
Yeah, fresh. Here's another one of the goddesses. But you painted, you added on the rays after. So, yep, and the hearts. Yes. Oh, it's good. I got it. Okay. His boogie birds. So pre-Iboga, beautiful piece there. Super amazing, talented, deep political works. So here's, you know, from an earlier time in his career, that there was a lot of medicine there already. He remembered the medicine. This is an African-American lineage man, and he had a unique experience from me in that he had complete deja vu. He felt like he was remembering all of it. So in that sense, it was very intuitively guided. It was like the perfect thing for both of us in a different way. So Market Street mural. Share a few more. So this is getting a little darker. Political pieces. Post-Iboga. Beautiful. Truth. There you go. And that's the Divided State of America project. You can look that up on Facebook. It's touring college campuses right now to incite political discourse among young people. The faceless hoodie in the middle. So yeah, really. So here's another of the women. Power of the mortal feminine, the divine feminine. Beautiful. So I'm going to get back to that other folder. How are we doing on time for Q&A? We're good? Okay. Share a few more. And, you know, we love collaborations. Oh, post-Iboga. Mural in Switzerland. Do you want to talk about this?
This piece I did for, I don't need that. This piece I did for, can you guys hear me?
Just for the video.
Just for the video? This piece I did for my grandmother after she passed. And I wanted to capture her soul, her spirit, versus painting her actual portrait. So this is her love face, and a lot of these animals that I want to say beautiful creatures that came across my path during Iboga experiences. So I think we went up north to go do some Iboga training, so to say, and there's a part of the ceremony that you take that is called
Spiritual bath.
spiritual shower. And at that moment, as we were walking to the creek, black and white king snake crossed my path. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy, because it's the only black and white thing out of everything else. It's like, earth tones. And the thing is, it's like, it's a spiritual animal. That animal takes, or basically eats poisonous things. So that was a good sign to me. And from there, as I'm getting the spiritual shower, I'm getting bathed and everything, I'm like, whoa, and then butterflies are coming across. So, black and white butterfly. And it was just a beautiful experience. So when you experience Iboga, you're going beyond yourself. You're going beyond everything. You're going to inner dimensions. So captivating the soul, every time I see my soul and see my spirit and see myself, the skin was made of the universe, was made of stars. I don't think this is in a book, because she told me, like, every time I come up here, I start spoiling the book, so, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, there was an experience when I called upon my ancestors, and a pyramid just appeared, and I had to climb up to the top of this pyramid. And from there was this beautiful shaman, Wiki shaman, on top of a pyramid, holding his hand. He had his hands up like this. And what the hell was he got in his hands? And then I'm looking at him, and I can look at him in detail. And like I said, his skin was made, he was like huge, giant, strong, all Ouija painted up. His skin and everything was made of the universe, like that. And looking up at his hands, and he brings his hands down, and inside his hands, he has a heart. And I'm like, whoa, it's a heart. A heart, oh shit. Okay, what am I gonna do? I had to think quick. This Boogie thing quick. You gotta think on your toes. So I basically grabbed the heart. And then he looked at me, he smiled, and he's like, now what are you gonna do with it? And so I was like, okay, I want to do something with it, all right. And then it was just like, I opened my chest. There was no heart there. It's just dark, it's black. So I put the heart in, and everything just started fusing together. I really, literally felt it. Apparently, I guess that wasn't good enough for me, so I had to take it to the next step, and golden chalice cup just appeared in front of me, and I grabbed it, poured it out, and it poured like gold onto the heart. And it turned it into a golden heart. And then that's when I incorporated my work now. So basically, you know, I was heartless until I found that art. And showed me the world. Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the most beautiful experiences. And then actually, you know, I put the heart and it fused in, turned gold, and I just took off, flew away. You know, the bloodline superhero inside my experience, my inner experience, and basically had to go inside and heal myself. And once I was able to do that, then life is a piece of cake after that. You know, you still have hardships and you still have, you know, there's still a balance of things, but you know how to cope with them. You know how to handle them afterwards, especially after I cope. You know, like she says, it's not a miracle medicine like, you know, drinking, like, you know, take the blue pill, the red pill, you know, actually take the red pill. But the thing is that you become the red pill. The thing is, you are the medicine. You are the truth. So you realize and know who you are, love who you are, and understand who you are. I'm sorry if I'm not like, you know, you're not getting the right sound, but love you. Love yourself. Why not? Okay, you want this back?
Thank you. So, one major motivation for me writing this book, I have never in my life seen anything so healing, that sophisticated, and so healing in 24 hours. I mean, it was 8 days of our process, but like, that was the start of it. Dude looked like he had 10 facials and just ran a triathlon, right after. And people need to know about this. How many people are on methadone in the United States? I'm a huge supporter of harm reduction. His art is the official art for the National Harm Reduction Conference. We love harm reduction. Harm reduction should be limited. Like, it's not a 20-year thing. Would you want your children on that for 20 years? You know, people are not living their life fully. And that's their choice, but they should know all of their choices. So why is this substance that's been used in sacred ceremonies since before recorded history a Schedule I substance in the United States? That is a sin. I mean, that grows out of the ground. God made that. Like, yes, I understand we are intelligent enough to create standards of care. Yes, we can safely, intelligently integrate this into society. It is illegal. And they take it very seriously. Our friend Dimitri Mujanius was set up in a sting when he was trying to heal someone. They take it very seriously here. So this is part of my activism. Please share the word. You know, we are in a long-term apprenticeship. This is like the brain surgeon of medicines. It's a very long-term apprenticeship to be able to hold it for people. This is 2 years later. We're still etching away at this process in many ways. So, you know, it won't be available here until we get legal protection. But talk about it, share the word. And there's a lot of ambiguity on the internet. You hear about cases where people die with Iboga, but that's when it is not handled properly. I spoke with the doctor, Ken Alpern, who did a 20-year study on all the deaths that were supposedly related to Iboga over 20 years. They were all either because of a severe heart condition that is a contraindication, or someone used contraindicated drugs during ceremony. So you can't do that. Or someone self-administering a massive dose from questionable medicine. Could have been laced with something, we don't know. Sometimes, they really had to pour through those reports. So, in good hands, this is wonderful medicine. There are resources, just to share the word. I mean, everyone here will be able to carry this information that there is Gita, there is ICEers, there is maps. ICEers especially has some great information. On my website, there's a page dedicated to Iboga. It's ebast.net, page just for Iboga. And just for the book, which is called Heart Medicine. Please use the direct links on my website if you want to pick it up. The paperback was just updated with some really exciting information that I learned at the Gita conference. So the hardback is about to be updated, so look for the paperback. That's a great resource for someone. And there's a deep transmission in the book of not only about the Iboga medicine, but all sacred medicine, and how we approach those medicines, and how we prepare and participate and integrate those medicines and give back. And there's a lot about the nature of addiction. I looked hard at the face of addiction. I'm really convinced that there's no crushing addiction. As long as we're in human bodies, we can direct it. We can pour a lot of light on it. Bring a lot of consciousness to it and choose. Well, addiction is the same energy as devotion. It's a very fine line. Very fine line. So there's a lot in there about my observations and our experience with the nature of addiction. That's something that he taught me a long time ago, is that you got to develop positive addictions, otherwise some will find you. And then I reminded him of that years later. So on my site, ebast.net, I also host sacred dance and yoga experiences and private retreats, different fun stuff, and yogic lifestyle consulting. I'm really passionate about that. So there's a lot of fun stuff there. In the blog, I'm starting to interview amazing people. More to come on my blog of people who are doing amazing work in the world. And if you like it, please write a review on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, those big ones that'll help other people to find it. A lot of people like it, and there's a couple people who are like, there's too much sex. So I feel like the medicine, that's another part of our life, that the medicine also wants to help us heal. It's a core element of human life. So Q&A. All right, I was gonna do a reading, but another time. Come see me again. Yeah? Okay. Super fast. Let's see. Chapter 30. Finally, we were summoned by Michael. He knocked lightly and then poked his head in. He spoke with a gentle, firm voice. Okay, guys, it's time. Join us at the fire ceremony in 15 minutes. We gathered our questions and walked slowly over to the ceremony site near the guest house. The gusts of sweet air and the orchestra of jungle creatures serenaded us. We sat in chairs in front of the temple. They had indeed transformed the covered garage at the guest house into a Bwiti temple, it worked well. The structure was identical to the humble temples in Africa, with 3 walls and 1 open wall. As we learned, the open wall expressed the Bwiti philosophy: anyone is free to enter, and anyone is free to leave. The walls were covered in woven reeds. 2 mattresses lay out, covered in white sheets, beckoning miracles. Michael slowly stacked wood for the fire in a complex tower with great care. It was his work of art. We settled into our chairs. Mugenda was sitting across the fire pit from us. Our modern shaman was dressed simply in his athletic shorts and a t-shirt. Welcome, Elizabeth and Chor. Tonight, he paused, you are taking the red pill. As they say in your American movie, The Matrix. We all laughed, and our bodies relaxed a few notches. Ah, I love working with couples. He smiled gleefully and placed his hand thoughtfully under his chin like Rodin's statue, The Thinker. Couples. You can bring each other up, or you can bring each other down. There's usually no in between. Sometimes with addiction, one partner pulls the other into the poison, and then you have 2 addicts. So, you 2 want to have a healthy, beautiful relationship. We nodded in agreement. In order to have a good relationship, you first have to heal yourself. So in this journey, you heal yourself for yourself. So tonight, you are divorced, in the sense that you are totally on your own. It's just you facing you. In the morning, you can be together again. Chor and I glanced at each other for a moment, bathed in the amber light, and nodded in mutual understanding. Your wife will become the most important woman to you, Mugenda streamed towards Chor. I couldn't believe it when my father first told me that one day, my wife would be more important than even my mother or my sister. I said, nah, Dad, no way, I can't imagine. I love my mom so much. But it's true, because a good wife will be there for you anytime, day or night, if you really need her. Your sister will be making love to her own husband at 2 a.m. when you call with an emergency, he chuckled. Maybe you are sick as a dog. You think she's gonna take your call? Probably not. Your mom might be getting older. She might be far away. It's a good wife who's gonna be there for you. He paused. A good woman will know you inside and out. You need to listen to her, Mugenda spoke Chor, because she knows you better than you know yourself. Man. Mugenda laughed abundantly. Chor stood at attention. Only a warrior can speak to a warrior sometimes. And this warrior was telling him to listen to his woman. It's a little bit. Mugenda is all about this book, by the way, and a portion of the proceeds goes back to our village that we ended up going to in Africa. And just before we jump into questions, can I get back? I'll just show you a picture of Mugenda. And we ended up going to Africa 6 months later and immersed ourselves in the Bwiti culture and hung out in the bush for a month. And so it's the other, Africa. Thank you. Oh, awesome. So this is Gabon. And if you ever do go to Africa, he's taking people there this July, by the way. You can write me if you want to go. And there's actually an email for his contact to get people out there. Cool, perfect. Yeah, you can start rolling. But this is Mugenda when he's not in athletic shorts. We got married out there. So we're out there in the unfinished structure. This is ceremony. I felt the root of all ceremony on the planet coming from the belly of Africa. I felt Native American ceremony, I felt Indian ceremony, and teaching us how to dance, the men's rite of passage. It was deep. And please consult with me if you feel like you want to go, because it is a really intense trip, and I definitely have some things to impart. Chor calls their ceremonies freight train on a rocket ship. Yeah, on a roller coaster, freight train on a rocket ship on a roller coaster. All night, full on, beautiful, beautiful, joy, and tough as nails people. Like, Mugenda has a scratch on his face, and I'm like, Mugenda, where'd you get that scratch? That's his spirit animal that gave him that scratch. Like, they're interfacing with the jungle every day, and life and death, and men's rite of passage here that they're going through. So it's a beautiful culture, and these people are willing to share their culture. So let's give back. And I want to open up for some questions here. And you want to come up here, Ray, and take some questions? Okay, but he's open for questions too. Hey, what's up? Hi. Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. What's the difference between ayahuasca, peyote, and this?
Great question. Ayahuasca, peyote, and Iboga. These are all beautiful master plants. I find it really interesting that there's a sacred medicine plant on every continent that human beings are on. Coincidence? I think not, you know? So they're all different traditions hold these medicines. I do, I've experienced those medicines in formidable ceremonial doses in ceremony, and Iboga is the brain surgeon. Iboga is a very, very powerful, volatile medicine that really needs to be held by a Bwiti lineage provider, who has generations of knowledge instilled. It's jet fuel. Jet fuel will take you anywhere, but you got to know how to operate the jet. And they have rich knowledge of all the uses of that medicine. It has, it can slow down the heart rate, which I felt like can be navigated. But you just got to know what you're doing and be with a great provider. So yeah, very powerful. The most gnarly detox I've ever experienced as far as purging and a sense of cleansing. The most gnarly mental obstacle course that I've been through thus far. Beautiful, and so grateful for every second of it. Yeah, does that help you? It comes from Africa. It's indigenous to Africa. And it's a root bark. It's a root bark that is taken as fresh shavings, tea, natural total alkaloid concentrates, or ibogaine, which is something different. We did not experience ibogaine, but I've heard of great results with that also in held right in a very responsible way. I also have Crossroads Treatment Center noted on my site if you choose the medical model. So.
They say ayahuasca and the peyote, one's like a grandfather, one's a grandmother.
Oh yeah, gender, yeah.
What do you feel is this one?
They say it's dual spirit, that it can be both. It has a very feminine side and a very masculine side, and it's one plant, which is interesting, like peyote. It's one single plant, there's no additives, it's just the one. They call it the godfather plant. The Bwiti people from Africa acknowledge it as the progenitor of all sacred medicines, or the dreamer of all medicines, and I wouldn't put it past it. It's a very clever plant.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are the contraindications that you're aware of for Iboga? Meaning, what are the conditions in which an individual might be at risk taking Iboga?
Sure. Well, please go to my site on the Iboga page.
And what is your site, please?
ebast.net, ebast.net. And there's some cursory information there, but there's also like 4 or 5 links to other organizations. But off the top of my head, like in a nutshell, pretty severe heart conditions that will show up on an EKG, and a responsible provider, especially doing a detox, will ask for an EKG. So they'll be able to see a lot there. A sports heart, like if someone has an enlarged heart, or really low resting heart rate, which is also not impossible to navigate. That's not impossible. Certain murmurs are okay, certain murmurs are not. So a good provider will be able to read your EKG. And what's other things that are contraindicated are coming straight off of benzos is not recommended. Benzos you need to taper down in a responsible way and have them out of your system for about a month is what's recommended to be really conservative, because they don't have, Iboga doesn't immediately cleanse benzos in a way that is helpful. It's pretty intense. and so that's definitely recommended. There are some people who are doing a tapering with microdoses of ibogaine. Possible. I feel like it's just great to taper down with slow-acting opiates and have a physician who's really your advocate, to do that. So benzos, some SSRIs might need to be out of your system for a certain amount of time, but those links on my site will help you. And then just not taking drugs after you have Iboga in your system. Muginda says Muginda says it causes a war in the body. That it's such a different energy.
Thank you.
A few more. So the woman in the black, raise your hand first.
Hi. What was the entire duration of your experience from the initial noticeable onset of effects to sobriety?
For a detox?
Just for when you took the actual Iboga,
You mean the duration of the visionary journey?
Yeah, the entire thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we had 2 ceremonial doses in our first 8 days, and from the time we took it at 9 p.m. at night, it was about 9. It was about 8 or 9. I wrote everything down. Is it the book? So from the time we took it, after fire ceremony too, So we were in full vision till 6 or 7 a.m. and then in half vision for another
2 days?
yeah, for like 2 days. But the full on, we could walk around and eat fruit the next afternoon. We were in bed for till early afternoon, so the next afternoon. So yeah, and then we did a second one like that, which was even stronger. So by afternoon the next day. So yeah, like 12 hours in full on vision and another 6 hours in half light vision. But then you feel it I felt it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Full on. I mean, not like, there she goes, streaking. Not like that. But I felt it in my body, uplifting my serotonin levels and connecting me to nature and communicating with me, whispering, and to my spirit for 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, there was this moment where I felt the medicine saying, now you get to test out your legs. Now you get to test out everything I've taught you. But our shaman says it can stay in your body for up to 2 years if you're really clean. Alcohol will make the spirit leave.
Depending on how you treat yourself and treat your body.
Yeah. But yeah, our shaman says that alcohol is will make the spirit dissipate or leave. It is a different spirit. So yeah. But there was some other yes, definitely.
Yeah, I was curious about, did you detox yourself before you
Yes,
went?
yeah. At least 2 weeks. I detoxed myself for about 2 weeks before I went. Yeah, because I had experience with ayahuasca before and a couple other plant medicines, and it just felt like I needed to do that before I go into freaking World War III, internal World War III, and I was like, I'm gonna be prepared. So, gym every day,
Sweating, watching mess.
sauna, all that good stuff. Yeah, watching, and
Did you say Washima?
yeah, watching.
Microdoses of watching
Yeah,
mess.
microdoses. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
But
I
not a
was
big
ready.
deal, not a big
I was ready. And then when we had our first ceremony, you would have thought she was the one detoxing on drugs, because the way she was throwing up, or the purging, as they say. But yeah. Oh. But yeah, I did do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was helpful. But I mean, addicts can go in. We have a friend who is 4 or 5 gram a day heroin addict. That was his longest detox, and that was 5 days straight. And he came in rolling off the plane after injecting, and it can be done. But I feel like it can work even better and less violently if people can detox a little first.
Yeah.
But just to speak to that, I thought it was clean. I've been mostly vegan, whole food, doing yoga, and purged 6 times. And I realized
All I did was piss.
practically, I realized I was so addicted to negative, fearful thinking about certain things. And every negative, fearful thought would create, adrenaline, cortisol. This isn't fluff. Like, these thoughts can create adrenaline, cortisol, and really toxic biochemicals in the body, biochemical poison. So I felt that coming out. That was my feeling about it. But I detoxed myself even before, even a little more, but that was nothing like digs in there like Iboga that I've ever found. Yes.
A lot of the research that I've done on Iboga is, mostly related to drug addictions and things like that. And obviously you're using it more as an emotional thing, it sounds like. Do you see that becoming sort of, more common with Iboga, sort of similar to what people look for when they take ayahuasca?
Sure.
Or looking inside,
Yeah. There's a lot of people who approach this medicine for psycho-spiritual journeys and introspection and depression and health. Javier.
What have you heard about alcohol? Because you said alcohol consumption after was really the problem growing in, the addiction growing in is alcohol. What sort of success have you known for it?
Sure, yeah, we've heard of a lot of success. If someone is to the point of alcoholism where they are having alcohol seizures, someone needs to wean themselves down with, I know that there are certain other medications that can help someone wean down safely from alcohol seizures, because alcohol seizures can be fatal, and Iboga does alleviate opiate withdrawal symptoms to a great degree, but not alcohol withdrawal, and that's a tricky one. But I've heard of great success. I've heard of multiple people getting sober for years after, to my knowledge. But again, community, support, integration, other kinds of supportive care. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where in Africa is this?
Gabon.
Gabon.
You know Stephen Gray and Sean Hayward, they're British and they travel all over administering Iboga.
I don't know them personally.
Just speaking of this psycho-spiritual, and you mentioned earlier about the influence of music, but they emphasize using Iboga without any music, because he says you really go deeper introspectively without the music. Yeah, his website is Stephen Gray.
That's something I'm very cautious about. Like I said, we learned that there are a lot of elements of Bwiti ceremony that have been cultivated over thousands of years, like the polyrhythms of the music are having very distinct effects on the brain that are complementary to medicine. They are regulating the heart rate, which can be really tricky. Like there's been accidents when people aren't regulated properly. And even the elements of ceremony, not only on a physical level with like certain kinds of movements, but energetically and spiritually. We saw an amazing, here's the thing, I'm going to urge a lot of caution around people that are holding ceremonial doses of total alkaloid Iboga in an appropriated context, like outside of Bwiti or African or Pygmy lineage. Really, really delicate, and it could be well-intended, really well-intended. There are a lot of spiritual nuances and a lot of African spirits that are attached to this medicine that people see universally in many visions that are very present, and there's a lineage that's connected on that level. And we saw, and medical model is a little different. Medical model is different because
You need the music.
Medical.
It's a major part of the experience.
Yeah, and medical model is different because it doesn't have all of those alkaloids, and it sometimes can come from a different plant. It's a whole different medicine. But I saw this amazing Kirlian photography at the Gita conference, this scientist from Europe that looked at the auric field of a person before they took the medicine, during the medicine, and after the medicine. First, it's kind of medium strength. You can see a glow all around the body. During the ceremony, it was completely porous. Whole spots were missing. It looked like it had holes in it. And I feel like we are, like when we are with medicine, we open ourselves to so many things. Every color, dark and light, and everything. And then after, the field was very strong again. It was all strong and full force again. But during, it's a very delicate time when many different energies could come in and interact. And the Bwiti are high surgeons of protecting ceremony. And maybe there's some evolution that I don't know about. Perhaps there's an evolution in ceremony. However, I would be hesitant to recommend it unless there are African elders that have blessed that lineage. That, that we are honoring the indigenous people. And knowing, I want to know, like, where does that medicine come from exactly? And how is it being taken? There are medicine that can be ordered online that are purchased from elephant poachers, because elephants eat Iboga. And that's a whole different frequency of medicine. Yep, we don't want to get it on the dark web. So I would have questions, and I'm really curious. And maybe there's, the pygmies also, who are the first ones to hold Iboga, have very sophisticated polyrhythms with their music. That it is brain surgery. It's breaking open the head is what they call it. So maybe things I don't know about, but that's what comes to me. And I sense even well-meaning providers who are doing it in a renegade way could come and be in conversation and create community and apprentice ourselves in a healthy way to the African people and honor them in that way. Yeah.
Those spirits that you say is common among everyone that uses medicine, are those the same 7 spirits from Stevie Yoruba?
Yoruba. Yoruba, I'm not an expert about. Yoruba is a different tradition, but they, is it a syncretism?
Is it a plant medicine?
No, it's just, they have 7 African spirits, and each represents a different part of nature.
Yeah, different.
It's a different tribe.
Or different tradition.
Yeah,
Different tradition.
But they'll go into that mediumship and contact those different ancestors.
Oh yeah, the ancestors are a big part of it too.
So I'm just wondering if they were somehow
Related.
Different traditions. Different traditions. I don't know too much about Yoruba. Great question though, thank you.
One more question.
Okay. Just one more, but hey, you can write us. Write us, be in touch. We'll have cards here. You can come and ask us for our cards a little bit. So there was one more.
Well, I thought that answer was so helpful and explained so much about that your auric field gets holes so that you're very vulnerable. And so that was a great thing, because I also feel that on heavy other plant medicine ceremonies, just even the energy of the shaman has infused. It really helped me. But what I wanted to ask is, what if the problem is like some kind of nervous disorder where the person's on benzos, can't they go on it to break them, or they have to be off them for a month?
It is not recommended to do a full ceremonial dose when someone is fully on benzos.
Not fully on it, but like if they couldn't, if they needed.
I think if they were weaned down to almost nothing, but it would be really good. And there are ways that can be done with medical supervision safely. So take a doctor who's really behind you and what you want to do. And please consult Gita and ICers. They have great information. So we got to wrap it up. Yay! I just want to say thank you so much for your kind attention, and it's such an honor that you all are here bringing your bodies through LA traffic here. And thank you, Chor. Thank you so much. Please be in touch, and hey, if you need art.
Thank you very much. Much love.
Awesome.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. That was really great, and it was great that we got to get the art and some of your photos from Africa. I have a couple more quick announcements before we finish up and just have some mingling time. One, I work at a clinic in Mexico called Crossroads, which does addiction treatment with Iboga. And we also work with 5-MeO-DMT via toad medicine as well. So Joseph and I work for Crossroads, so if you have questions about that. Joseph has been doing research on some of the recovery rates for the Crossroads addiction program, and hopefully going to get him to come speak at some point soon when that gets all tied together. So if you have questions about that, I'm going to point you guys to this guy in front. And then just to go over quickly upcoming events. So we're going to have my dear friend Merrill Ward come on June 13th, which is a Monday. And he's going to be speaking about cognitive liberty and I can't remember the whole title, but basically it's about our civil right to be able to change our consciousness. And I heard a 20-minute version of his talk that he gave in Ashland, Oregon at the Exploring Psychedelics Conference, and it was excellent. So I'm super, super excited to have him. He's coming all the way down from Ashland. And then on June 22nd, the Aware Project is collaborating with the producers of the documentary Dying to Know, which is about Timothy Leary and Ram Dass. And we're going to be interviewing Zach Leary after the event, and that's going to be in Santa Monica. So I'm really excited to be collaborating with them, seeing the documentary. So come on out on the 22nd. With that, I would like to thank the volunteers. Kenny, who helped us get you all checked in, and then Joseph and Painey and Femina are the people that run this space. It's an art gallery and creative space called Oddville. So if you want to have your own events here, talk to Painey in the blue shirt. And with that, thank you so much for all coming. We can hang out here and chat and mingle and be a community for a little while. So thank you so much.